Boys and girls, welcome to the review about the Canon RF 24-240mm. Let's see if this lens is worth $1,000. This lens is made for mirrorless cameras only. We started this review in Frankfurt East, near the European Central Bank. This lens weighed 750 grams, which is 1.65 pounds. For this focal length, it's an acceptable weight ratio. Yes, there is a big disadvantage, and that's the aperture of only 4 to 6.3. The zoom ring is really huge, which makes it easy for daily operation. A control ring allows to change the aperture, ISO or shutter speed. If you like to use it as a focus, just make use of the focus switch. Let's have a look at the chromatic aberrations. In my point of view, there are not many. Here and there a little magenta touch or a green line. Nothing which takes more than 1 minute in Adobe Lightroom to fix. Well, I wish the same would apply to vignetting, but Jesus, what is this? First, I thought I use a lens made for APS-C sensor cameras until I realized, no, it's a full frame lens. There is no way to ignore the dark edges at 24mm. It does get better by 60mm and there are basically no more corners at 240mm when you slow down 1 or 2 stops. I wish Adobe Lightroom would handle it a bit better, but that's all you get while using the automatic correction. How does this lens handle lens flaring? Well, much better than vignetting, that's for sure. You do get some flaring around the center and less in the corners. However, you will make the most out of flaring while taking portrait pictures with the sun in the background. Let's get to the next step. Basically, all RF lenses are much sharper than EF lenses. If you disagree, or if you had a lens in your hand that I didn't have yet, please let me know. At 24mm and this distance, you can't expect much. At 240mm, you can clearly see the writing on the harbor. Let's take another example. Here you can see that at 24mm, this lens has its strengths, even if the sharpness decreases significantly towards the edges. I will tell you why I would not use this lens for weddings and portraits. The focal length may still make sense at weddings. The prerequisite is that you have enough light. However, should you take pictures in a dark church, then the ISO has to be pushed quite a bit. In addition, experience shows that at 240mm and f6.3, the bokeh is rather mediocre to non-existent. Nevertheless, the motto always applies here. The best camera is always the one you have with you. So now I'm going to step in front of the camera because now it's time for the how to focus. It is well known that the EOS R is very good, but you can see a clear difference to fast aperture lenses in low light. The whole thing looks much better in daylight. The tracking runs well, even if the eye autofocus does not start. At least not at this distance and speed. I've done the update for the eye autofocus on my Canon EOS R. If I try to track myself, it's not as accurate from far away. However, if I do vlog myself, it looks really impressive. So the camera tracks me at all times. Yes, what makes this lens so special? On one hand, there's the awesome working image stabilizer, which we will have a look on in a few minutes, and the focal length. We have already discussed the disadvantages of the small aperture. This lens is made for plane spotters, wildlife photographers, or simply amateurs who like to travel light with a single lens. 24-240mm is usually sufficient for a whole vacation. Yes, and the image stabilizer does what it should do. With a lot of wind or a lot of zoom, you need a good working image stabilizer. Especially with 240mm, a good thing that we will have now a look side by side. And finally, let's take a look at the bokeh. Sure, other lenses can do that much better, but they also cost a lot more with the same focal length. The bokeh is still quite soft and looks nice at 70 and 240mm. Yes folks, and what are you saying about this lens? Are you using it yourself? So I'm curious, for what? Just write a comment below. It is a great focal length for this price in a relatively compact format with image stabilization. The vignetting at 24mm is a bit underground, but good, now you know it. Otherwise, a good all-rounder for the EOS R full-frame system. If you have any further questions or suggestions, feel free to post a comment below. See you soon and all the best from Frankfurt.